Homeland Security as the other agency, because Homeland Security at the national level sits on top of the Customs and Border Protection. And it's Customs and Border Protection which has inherited the inspection services at the ports of entry to check on not only passengers but freight, but ballast and all the rest. And Customs and Border Protection then CBP is as big an important part of invasive species as any. If they can keep them out of the country in the first place, that's the best first dollar spent. If we can have early detection once an invasive species shows up in our areas, we find something early, find a noxious weed, whether it's a thistle, whether it's something else, that's the best thing, because then you can eradicate it quickly with a minimum of expense. If you're late finding these pests, then you start to see the dollars start to mount, and in some cases it can be very critical, very, very, very serious problem with a disease, for example, that would get into your animal populations or something like that. We recognize that then on the Invasive Species Council, our work with the local agricultural commissioner, to work with your local conservancies, to work with your local folks that are doing wildlife preservation or wildlife habitat enhancement. We really need everybody to be aware that these challenges are actually increasing with the kind of increase in the flow of products coming through our borders or through the parcel posts. And we'd love anybody that had these concerns to elevate those concerns to your congressperson or even higher, and say that when people are ordering the most poisonous snake they can find on the internet and it comes in the mail, or they want to get the most potent plant that does X, Y, Z, but they don't know that if it led out to the wild, it can go all over the place. These are the really enormous challenges, and you only have to look at the Florida Everglades as a glaring example of an area that is just overrun by a bunch of new species that don't have any natural predators or enemies, and I think that's one of our challenges. So with the Invasive Species Council, we do have an advisory committee that helps advise all the secretaries who will sit on the council, and that's in the formative stages right now. So if you have someone that is very keen and excited in this area and also educated in this area, please let us know and then send that name up to us, and we'll try and make sure we'll have a chance to utilize that expertise and background. And there'll be working groups as well for regional problems as we see them. In addition, then, let me finish part of what we talked about last year is those different kinds of species coming in from your own watershed, whether there might be mussels, quagga mussels, or other invertebrates, or certainly what happened recently, this Asian citrus psyllid is a small sucking insect that basically attacks primarily citrus trees. So whether it's commercial citrus, or think of everybody you know that's got a lime tree, a orange tree, a tangerine tree, a lemon tree in your backyard. If this is the only insect that we know that vectors a disease called Wang Lang bean, which is citrus greening. The disease, Wang Lang bean, is an Asian disease that kills the tree. And Brazil and certainly now Florida, their entire citrus industry commercially is on the verge of collapsing these next 2 to 3 years, because they've had about a 5-year, 6-year epidemic spreading. It was spread by the hurricane. They were trying to eradicate it, but it got away from them. So they're a perfect example of an area that is going to lose enormous millions of trees already of citrus. And the disease itself is over there. The insect is over here. At this point, there's been no detections in Arizona or Texas, one spot in Texas, but not any disease. And at this point, no disease detection in Mexico that we know of. And we're working very closely with the Mexicans on both sides of the border to try and get rid of the psyllid now in our areas here and push it back over that way before it gets the disease. And the disease always follows the insect. So where this partnership works down in here is that you're well aware of that. Please note that the Mexican Department of Agriculture has been very good at trying to make sure that they are stopping it too, because what happens is a lot of people depend on citrus in their backyard or commercially as a regular part of their diet. And you can imagine the kind of havoc this causes if this disease is to spread. So that's kind of the extent of my report, and it's a great place for partnering for all concerned because it affects the average household owner who has citrus that they love, it's a chance to get them involved at this stage too. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Secretary Christman?
A couple of issues. You've heard mentioned earlier in the meeting today, conversations around International Boundary Water Commission. The state of California continues to be very active in that commission. We have 3 representatives sit on that commission. 4 members of the State Water Management Board sits on it. Director of Water Resources, one of the staff sits on the commission. For us, it's an important effort. For us, it's centered primarily on the Colorado River drainage system. We've been very actively involved in the All-American Canal lining issue, working not only on this side of the border, but on the Mexican side of the border, because there's obviously some significant disagreement as to the whole issue surrounding canal lining, but it is moving forward. The other issue is the drought, the Upper Colorado River Basin drought. Drought has taken place over the last few years, the drought here in California. The Department of Water Resources and the Water Education Foundation came out of the water work table of the Board of Governors conference down in San Diego last month or the month before last, focused on drought conditions, focused on transboundary water monitoring, water measuring devices across the border. We're in the midst of all of that now, and again, both of these activities, both the commission and the drought working groups that we've got in place, focus on the efforts of how we can help one another across the borders. So those 2 issues, and then the work of the California Biodiversity Council, particularly in the area of Los Morales Canyon, the supporting of the creation of the sewage treatment facility on the Mexican side of the border, and our exchanging technical knowledge and information to help that process along. We're still involved in that as we move forward. So again, a lot of activities in a disparate whole series of areas that this council can help us focus on.
Thank you so much, and thanks again for hosting the meeting here. Secretary Bonner, did you have anything that you would like to report?
I guess a couple of things. One of them, Matt already mentioned some of the issues we're working on the Homeland Security side relative to the E-Trace programs and the other activities that we've been involved with. There have been, over the course of the past year or several months, a number of high-level meetings involving both the state and federal governments on both sides of the border and some of those issues. We're really pleased that we have obtained the presidential permit that's necessary to proceed with the Otay Mesa 2 border crossing facility, so we're pleased to have that going forward. And I don't know if you want to mention if there's any highlight in the master plan process that's been continuing. We've been working together to continue to build out or coordinate some of the build out of the infrastructure.
It was completed and approved in December. My understanding, Arizona and Sonora, they're moving to creating another similar to ours in Texas and some other states on the Gulf side. So our border master plan is completed. We're actually in the process of contracting out to get the first outlet.
So that's our report.
And one of the things I forgot to mention in my report is the ongoing MOU we have between California and our partners in Mexico on interagency fire sharing agreement that we have in terms of allowing us to during fire season, during some of the Santa Ana fire seasons down here, allowing the fire suppression equipment to be on both ways on the border. So that's an ongoing effort that we've got in place. That's been in place for a number of years, and it essentially works very well. So we'll continue to do that.
Yes, thanks. I wanted to introduce Mauricio Leiva. He's relatively new to our Office of Financial Border Health and the company today. Also wanted to introduce Janet Houston, who heads our External Affairs Office. The Office of Financial Border Health sits within her office. So just a brief report to kind of give you a sense of the scope of health problems that we're dealing with in a cooperative way with our partners south of the border.